Assalamu alaikum everyone and welcome back. They say there is no comparison between AI and architects. Of course they are right because artificial intelligence is no match to natural stupidity. This is Architect Shariar.
Surely there is no match here as well. This is Architect Mahi.
And you are watching us on yet another episode of Let's Talk
Architect. So in our previous episode, we explored the architect-engineer nexus. हमारी usual practice क्या है, communication gaps क्या हैं, academic problems क्या हैं, next generation issues क्या हैं, and are we actually ready to face them? So today we are moving forward and we are focusing on a different but a very interesting aspect, that is comparative learning. Why is that? Because comparison वो एक वाहिद tool है जो हमें बेहतरी की तरफ लेके जाता है. बेशक वो professional comparison हो या academic comparison हो, शर्त ये है कि आप उसे positively approach करें. So today we have someone who is very well equipped with the topic of comparative learning.
Someone with good exposure, someone who is well taught, someone who is well driven and a good teacher. We welcome to our show the very talented architect Sidra Khokar. Hello.
Assalamualaikum. Hi, thank you for having me here today.
You're welcome. कैसी हैं आप Sidra?
Allah ka shukr, I'm doing well.
How was life in the past 2 to 3 days?
It was a lot, so to speak. Online learning always puts a stop in the works. एक momentum चल रही होती है, and all of a sudden it just comes to a standstill. Student motivation drops again to a low, and you've tried to build up that pace, and then all of a sudden वो एकदम एक ठप्पा लग जाता है of like a full stop, because it's really hard to get them to work at that same level from within their homes. Distance learning has its advantages, but then again, it has its disadvantages. So
Sidra, we would like you to tell us about yourself, about your journey so far.
So I initially started out my journey in architectural education from NCA Rawalpindi. Maheen was my class fellow as well, so we were both started off that journey together. And midway, I took a transfer and I moved to Australia, which is where I completed my degree. So a blessing in disguise, you could say, even though I had to repeat 3 years of my education. So alhamdulillah, I had 8 years of this lovely degree. But honestly, I think it was a great experience in terms of the same lens of comparative learning. It really opened my eyes. And currently, I'm teaching at NUST, at SADA. At the same time, I'm also really into research writing and content writing in general. So I work as a freelance content writer on the side for local and a few international architectural firms as well. And I also run my own blog by the name of the Terracotta Think Tank, where what my aim is to basically just portray Pakistan on a global level, not as people who are living in sticks and bamboos only, because I feel that is what has been really being marketed nowadays. So that's what I'm trying to do. Yeah.
So Sidra, you've mentioned कि आपने यहाँ से भी पढ़ा और बाहर से भी पढ़ा, okay? और काफी साल लगाए डिग्री पे. So when you have to do a comparison पाकिस्तान की स्टडीज में और बाहर की स्टडीज में, what are you?
So I think one thing that I've really come to value is to appreciate everything you get everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere has their, disadvantages and advantages as well. So maybe when I did not have that international exposure, I probably felt that I'm being sort of deprived of an exposure that I may have if I go abroad, which is true in one way. I feel, as I was saying, the cultural sensitivity that I feel I gathered from being in an environment such as NCA, where I came from an OA level background. So my interaction with the cultural diaspora in Pakistan was zero.
Okay.
That is also something that I feel is so important when it comes to architectural education. You have people coming from so many different socio-economic backgrounds, and until and unless you don't intermingle, you're kind of stuck in this bubble. And that really hinders your skill to think, and that is what I see in students today as well. So I think my time in Pakistan, it really sort of equipped me with that passion and the drive to know more. Having that thirst for knowledge. I think वो NCA ने मेरे अंदर बहुत ज़्यादा inculcate किया था. So that, and the awareness that I got after interacting with my friends from different regions such as KPK, Gilgit, Sindh, even learning about their cultures, actually seeing someone just speak in another language in front of me for something really different for me, because मुझे पहले exposure इधर भी नहीं मिला हुआ था. So I think that is something that I really feel कि holistically speaking दोनों sides से मुझे, और बाहर जाके तो obviously it was a big bang in terms of cultural diversity, because it's a whole new world over there. Everyone's out for themselves, and that's something that I really learned कि you have your passion, but at the same time you need to be the sole driver of that gaadi that you want to reach at a target point at the end of the day. So yeah.
Sidra, हमने बात की cultural diaspora की, right? And I get when you say कि आप बाहर जाते हैं, so you get more exposed to it and you're more sensitive to it later on.
Yeah.
NCA में, because of all the institute, you get people from different cultures.
Correct.
आपको लगता है वहाँ पे उतना exposure नहीं है जितना बाहर है?
In NCA.
Yeah.
So I feel the level at which it is obviously is much more smaller because at the end of the day then it's just Pakistan ki jiski ek unique internal representation aa rahi hai. So obviously yes, it is lesser because bahar to phir aapke paas har kone se banda aa raha hai. So the exposure is much more diverse, so to speak. So of course that is something that was also very starkly different.
हमारा एजुकेशन सिस्टम जो है वो अनफॉर्चुनेटली नई चीज़ों को जो है वो नहीं लेकर आ रहा देयर एकेडमिक्स, ठीक है. हर 2 से 3 साल बाद चीज़ों को चेंज होना चाहिए, लेकिन हमारे यहाँ जो वो मोनोटनी है वो ब्रेक नहीं होती. एज अ टीचर, एज अ मेंटर, हाउ वुड यू ब्रेक दैट?
The first thing I would do is to surround myself with like-minded mentors who want that change as well. You must surround yourselves with senior architects and people in the profession and academics who actually are aware of what the change needs to be. So, they're also well versed in terms of the different methodologies and pedagogies of architectural education जो 21st century में follow हो रही हैं. And surrounding yourself with such people so that maybe perhaps the steps that you want to take can have some form of possibility at the end of the day कि वो आप implement तो किसी तहत कर सको. So for example, if you're teaching and if the party who's actually making the curriculum that you're teaching, right? And if they're not okay with your innovative and new ideas, you can't do much at the end of the day. Secondly, on my own level as a teacher, I think I will start small, at least starting somewhere. Something is better than nothing, I believe. So whether it's a little pocket studio that I want to do with my students, whether it's a small handout that I want to change, rather than telling them you have to do, giving them an A to Z sort of instruction manual. Perhaps giving them that flexibility in terms of guidelines so that they could actually start thinking more emotionally rather than rationally as well. And secondly, they're coming from different backgrounds where they can't exactly understand that architectural education qualitative hai. They're still running after those marks at the end of the day, which is natural because unfortunately हमारा जो system है वो उनको उन्हीं number पे pass करता है. It's a tragedy, but it's true. So ये चीज़ है. So just trying to actually break those mental blocks, which is why formative years में, which is like your second and third year, which we were discussing earlier with Sir as well, कि उस level पे breaking their molds is extremely important. So if you want them to think innovatively at a later level in terms of how they should be as a 21st century architect, then you really need to work on that level. And something that I really feel is कि giving them feedback, something as basic as feedback, and not the same person giving it. I'm pretty sure 10 दफा वो मुझसे बात करके तंग आ जाएगा. So giving them that sort of pool or those pool of people and professionals जिससे वो जाके actually अपनी बात कर सकता है और अपना project discuss कर ले या अपने issues discuss कर ले, that would help him or her to probably target whatever challenge they're facing better. So giving them those avenues is very important.
So Sidra, कुछ flaws होते हैं जो systematic होते हैं. System का revive ना करना after every few years is a systematic flaw, right? Teachers वो एक medium है जो students और system के बीच में गए होते हैं. And they have, I feel, the power to change that system. अगर complaints हैं उसके बारे में. आपने मेंशन किया कि सपोर्टिव लोग होना बहुत ज़रूरी होता है, cohort to do that. अगर वो नहीं है, so how do you navigate through that?
It's very frustrating, that I can tell you. It's very frustrating, no doubt. But that overall systematic change is, I believe, I mean, maybe my point of view changes with time because I'm also new in this, journey.
Yeah.
That overall change, that superiority wala change is unfortunately not in our hands.
Yeah.
I personally feel you may be able to write reports, you may be able to complain, you may be able to do all of those important necessary actions where you really want to raise your voice about what is going on and what really needs to change. So ye ek challenge hai that again is a mental block that we really need to sort of chisel through. And I think it's somewhat in the process, and I really hope that with time we get to that point. Because I think we are governed by this outcome based educational system jahan wahi exams, assessments or vivas ke through we are judging students of all skill sets. Whereas in architectural education I feel it's unfair because every child has a different skill or a capacity. So you must be able to analyze them based on those skills, right? So wo overlook ho jata hai because at the end of the day you may be able to analyze them through skills or their emotional intelligence or their critical thinking within your domain as a teacher, but when they have to pass through that system you're still governed by that superior system that you may not be able to 100% change. So wahi baat aa jati hai, at least you're starting small. So that is a challenge that I hope with time we can collectively surpass.
For a teacher, because हमारे भी बहुत से टीचर्स थे जो बाहर से पढ़े हैं, जो यहाँ से पढ़े हैं, सबकी आउटलाइंस फर्क होती थी.
बिल्कुल.
मतलब उनका पढ़ाने का तरीका नजर आता था. इसने बाहर से पढ़ा.
आप हैंडआउट से बता सकते.
इसने बाहर से पढ़ा. ये ऑनलाइन हैंडआउट नहीं आता.
बिल्कुल 100%.
बहुत दफा जब आप बच्चों को पढ़ा रहे होते हैं तो आपने जो सीखा होता है वो कॉन्टेक्चुअलाइज करना थोड़ा मुश्किल हो जाता है बिकॉज बच्चों का कॉन्टेक्स्ट डिफरेंट होता है. और कई दफा जो पढ़ाने के लिए आते हैं वो बहुत बाहर कहीं रह जाते हैं. पाकिस्तान आते हैं तो थोड़ा टाइम लगता है. और कुछ बहुत पाकिस्तान में होते हैं कि कोई मिडिल ग्राउंड नहीं हो सकते. So what I wanted to ask you this question is how do you do that in your context?
So I feel something that I'm still working on this, right? I feel really dumbing it down to their level. You can't really talk all philosophical with them, which is I feel what I was made to learn when I was abroad, and that's where I started this academic writing पे इतना focus होता था कि आपको उस तरह सोचने पे मजबूर कर देते थे, right? So that was our training there. इधर because हमारा opposite चल रहा है, it takes a lot of time, so I feel it has to be a simultaneous process. So you can't exactly expect the child to be critically thinking 24/7. And you can't expect them to be only rationally thinking 24/7. So achieving that middle ground again is through those mini exercises, whether it's a simple writing exercise or whether it's a simple exercise where I tell them to make a mood board. So these kind of small activities is how at least I target. Something as simple as doing this activity, which I really love to do, is think, pair and share. So I really like to pair students coming from different backgrounds and of different learning levels. So you might have an A+ student and then you might have a not an A+ student, but that not A+ student really has a great aptitude for sketching, right? So pairing them and then seeing what results they produce after I give them a task that is actually related to their design project. So I feel thoda sa contextualize karna aasan ho jata hai because then that student who's probably on an expert level could actually help to push up the student that really needs that, and maybe as a teacher that student may be too shy to talk to me or maybe too, I don't know, वो एक rebellion phase भी होता है बच्चे का, so they're just like मैंने इस teacher से बात नहीं करनी, इसको कुछ नहीं पता, ठीक है, that's fine. So maybe that student can help them come up. Another thing which I think is important is having peer assessment. So pairing students from different year levels, encouraging them to interact with each other. So giving them those avenues beyond the studio is also important. Because I feel really post-COVID, interacting socially is very it's not the norm anymore. Children are very like वो अपने ही cocoons में फंसे हुए होते हैं, which is why they can't even think beyond their cocoon sometimes. So I think usko bhi, motivating them is something very important that we need to do on a psychological level as well. So that's something that I hope we can.
Also because socializing is very important for your profession.
For this field, you can't do anything without networking. You really can't. So if we don't teach them how to do that, even on that formative level, while they are studying to become architects, so how can you expect them to do it later?
Right. मेरा आपसे next question ये है कि जो student learning expectations हैं, ठीक है, different in other countries, I'm sure. वो पाकिस्तान से हम उनको कैसे compare कर सकते हैं? How are they different from those Pakistani students?
So it is definitely different because they have a system. One, a system that changes. See, a system that वही वाली बात है, that is not judging them for the same sort of the outcome, right? So
specific to them.
So they have a rubric. They've set out the different deliverables. They've set out, and I'm sure you know about it. And the student को पहले से ही वो पढ़ाई शुरू होने से पहले आपको पता होता है कि आपको इस बात पे एनालाइज करेंगे. Then it's up to you how do you want to perform, right? मेरे दिमाग में वही एक स्टोरी आती है. There was always, I don't know if you've seen that comic where there's a monkey, there's an elephant, and I think then there's a duck.
And then there's a fish.
And they've set up like an obstacle course for them where they have to climb there's one ladder और सबको वही दिया हुआ. And obviously the hathi can't do it, so वही वाली बात आ जाती है कि how do we devise like that system or that uniform mode of assessment where you can sort of bring in everyone under this umbrella. So I think understanding their background, which is again brings you back to their early years of education, first till third, that's where you really need to work on their basic concepts. Architectonics ho gaye, structural understanding ho gayi, conceptual thinking ya sketching ho gayi, I mean, I'm all for digital technology and AI. We are an AI generation. But I feel like if you can't communicate what's going on in your head to your hand, whether it's through writing or through drawing related to our profession, so it's hard for you to do it in any other medium either.
Okay, AI era की बात हो रही थी. I have my reservations on that.
Yeah,
a lot.
For sure.
हमारी बहुत discussion होती है इस पे. So कहीं ना कहीं आई हैव दिस अंडरस्टैंडिंग नोइंग आवर सिस्टम कि हम उसके लिए प्रिपेयर्ड नहीं है. हमने अभी उसके बारे में सोचा ही नहीं है. आर यू डूइंग समथिंग?
सो AI के लिहाज से, एंड पता है, आई फील लाइक बच्चे माशाल्लाह आजकल इतने तेज हैं, हम उनको बताएं भी ना क्या करना है, वो खुद करके आ जाते हैं. बिकॉज इट्स सो इजीली एक्सेसिबल. इट्स एन एक्सट्रीमली एक्सेसिबल टूल. you've got mid journey now which has been able to, मुझे तो लगता है maybe at some point you might not even need these 3D softwares to do all of that stuff for you. And whether you're an industrial designer, whether you're an architect, whether you're an interior designer, I feel like these tools, yes, are able to create ease of access for you guys, but at the same time then everyone is the same run of the mill sort of a thing. वो monotony फिर से आ जाएगी सबके. मतलब फिर मैं मतलब I want to understand फिर आपकी individuality किधर आ रही है. What's your style then? So that's my only reservation when it comes to AI, because I feel like फिर से we're just creating more monkeys, who are just doing the same work. So that's not, I don't think that's why this profession started in the first place. Or if you trace the history of the different school methodologies, जिस तरह जो आते थे और उनकी अपनी एक स्टाइल होता था. So where does that lie then? So I think वो एक balance रखना is important. So not making them completely unaware about it, but I think the extent to which they're allowed to maybe practice it, at least in the early years, should be monitored.
Architecture GPT भी नया आ गया ना, it's just like Chat GPT. But अभी recently जो मैं देख रहा हूँ, I follow some people from London, from America who are working on AI. जिसमें आपने बात की थी कि सब एक जैसा ही फिर काम प्रोड्यूस करें. Now they are actually working on कि AI को यूज करते हुए different कैसी चीजें प्रोड्यूस करें.
वही ना, they're solving problems.
So they're like way ahead of us.
They're creating problems, and they're solving those problems, and they're creating more problems,
and they're solving those problems. I mean, you have to hand it over to them. Like they've nailed it, sort of. They've put the pin on the donkey tail. They know.
Right. So before moving on to our last question, we are going to play a pick it quick round.
Okay.
I'm gonna ask you a question, give you two options, you have to pick one answer quickly.
Okay. That's a version of rapid fire.
I got it.
Right, so let's start it.
Okay.
Which education system is better? A, 5 years with no experience. B, 7 years with industrial experience.
Oh, 7 years with industrial experience.
Right. When we design, we must understand the structure perspective too. A. Of course, it's a part of design. B. No, it's not our headache.
A, it's a part of our design. Yeah.
Right. Number 3. If given the liberty, you will A. Send your students for an international trip. B. Send your students for 1-year exchange program.
Exchange program.
Exchange program.
Yeah.
एक साल याशी
कोई सीन नहीं है मेरे मुझे ही जूते पड़ेंगे आखिर में.
Number 4. Time for some practical learning. A. Yay, take them to a site. B. Let's arrange a 2-day workshop.
Start from a 2-day workshop, then site visit.
Right.
Yeah.
Number 5. Bringing in new teachers is as important as revising syllabus every 2 to 3 years. A. I don't think so. B. Absolutely yes.
Absolutely, yes.
Number 6. Teaching modern software is the institute's duty. Number A. Yes, definitely. B. No, students should learn on their own.
No, the institute should be teaching them. Some students don't even have a system to learn it on, or they can't even buy the software. So वो कहाँ से cracks बेचारे आधा time वही करते रहते हैं.
चल सारे cracks.
Been there, done that. So it's hard.
Number 7. Both are good, but pick one for good exposure. Number A. Participating in competitions. B. Reading books.
Oh, reading books. Sorry.
Right. So our last question is, what is your thoughts about Archistan?
So first of all, I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you for inviting me. So automatically, it's a great thing that's happening. No, but I think it's a wonderful initiative, and it's so great to see fresh, new, young faces who are, creating this new wave in the industry. It's something very relatable. Which is great for students, so that at least शायद वो चीज जो class में ना सुन रहे हो इधर, because you have to understand this generation is all about social media.
Yeah.
And they really take it seriously. You give them a YouTube clip to watch of 30 minutes, वो देख के आ जाएंगे, लेकिन वो मेरा lecture 30 मिनट का सुनते सुनते सो जाएंगे. So it's very natural. ठीक है? So I think it's a wonderful initiative. Mashallah, it's fantastic, and I wish you guys the best. It's a wonderful venture in terms of raising awareness and talking about a lot of taboo topics that otherwise were just like hush hush या सिर्फ आप अपने groups में जाके over tea discuss कर लें. So I think it's a great thing that you've given it a structure, which is how I think all good things start, with a structure. So yeah, I think it's fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you for your kind.
Right. Takeaways. So आज का हमारा takeaway ये है with the discussion with Sidra is कि cultural diversity is very important. Obviously it brings in a lot of exposure. और उससे आपकी एक inner drive जो है वो ज़्यादा बढ़ती है, ज़्यादा सीखने के लिए. So it's very important. Number 2 ये था कि people who want to bring a change needs to work together. ठीक है, because usually होता है हाँ, they need support.
You can't work alone. For sure.
Because usually होता ही है कि एक there's a majority is like नहीं जो चल रहा है वो चलने पे, but then there is a lot who wants change. So I think similar minds अगर साथ काम करें so they can do a lot. तीसरी चीज ये कि वही वाली बात है, छोटी छोटी कतरा कतरा समंदर बनता है. So smaller step toward bigger impact, as Sidra said, है ना. So अगर हम आज से ही छोटे छोटे स्टेप लेना शुरू करें, we can do wonders. लास्टली ये कि आर्किटेक्चर इज डिफरेंट फॉर एवरीवन. हर बंदा डिफरेंट है, हर बंदे का स्टाइल ऑफ आर्किटेक्चर डिफरेंट है, राइट. सो हम किसी को एक ही सिस्टम के ऊपर जज नहीं कर सकते हैं. हर किसी को क्वालिटेटिव बेसिस के ऊपर जज करना चाहिए एज कम्पेयर टू कि हम एग्जाम सबके लिए. So lastly, 2 more things which were left was interactive learning, which is very important between the batches and between the classes as well, ताकि हमें पता हो हमारे सीनियर्स क्या कर रहे हैं, उन्होंने किस तरह से लेके चले थे उन चीज़ों को. और लास्ट ये कि दिस इज एन एरा ऑफ AI, और अनफॉर्चुनेटली हमारे इंस्टीट्यूट्स के ऊपर काम नहीं कर रहे हैं और उनको करना चाहिए. ठीक है, right? So it's debatable. Right. So wrapping it up, thank you, Sidra. Thank you so much for your time.
Not at all, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
The discussion was very fruitful, and
you.
I hope कि लोगों ने इससे काफी कुछ सीखा होगा.
Thank you for generating a very good discussion.
Oh no, thank you for giving me the, what would be the tools to have that conversation, and for such wonderful questions. So thank you. Yeah. No, I'd still give Maheen's I know her before, so I would give.
Thank you.
Alright, so do not forget to register with us. Visit www.archistan.com. It's for free.
And do not forget to follow us on our socials and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Yes, and if you have any queries, any question, if you want to be a part of our discussion session, please write to us at info@archistan.com. Alright, so we'll see you inshallah next week with a different topic and a different guest. Till then, Hafiz.